Democrats are panicking again. So a Morning Blow guest claims that the only point of running third party is to help elect Republicans. Oh, no. Oh, no. Trumpers, your great conspiracy has been revealed. Your third party scam, it's finally happened. And corporate media is breaking down on it again. This Coca-Cola classic of, oh, if you vote third party, you're voting for Trump. I've been voting third party and independent since after the debacle of the Bernie Sanders campaign in 2016. I did have high hopes for him in 2020, but once he revealed himself to being a cuck again, yeah, hey, all in for third parties and independents, as I've done for every single midterm election cycle and every other election cycle. Voting third party, voting independent. Fight me, fight me, fight me, fight me, fight me, fight me. Now, when you vote third party, when you vote independent, your vote is going to that said candidate. It is not endorsing or helping out a Democratic or Republican politician. And Democratic and Republican politicians and those within the DNC and RNC, if you are so brave and mighty, then debate these third-party candidates. Debate them. Don't fight them. Because why am I calling out both parties? Is because throughout the 7 years of Hard Lens Media being around, we have covered the same story of, surprise, surprise, Republicans and Democratic politicians, not voters, but Republican politicians and Democratic politicians working together to deny ballot access for third-party candidates and independents, denying them to be on the debate stage. I mean, boy, can they work together. But corporate media loves to contribute that. The whole idea of, oh, no, if you vote third party, you're helping Trump. Listen, Democrats, I know you're mentally challenged and you have no other propaganda or talking point. But just because I sat through this, so do you, okay? And I'm sorry, people. In many ways, this is violence.
What is their point of running? They are not in the debates because they're not running in the primaries. So, I mean, what is the point other than they end up messing up someone that may be closer to their politics than the other?
Well, I think you asked the money question. I don't think there is a point other than to be a spoiler. They make the argument that they represent viewpoints that need to be on the ballot to give voters a choice, even though they know they have no chance whatsoever of winning or no chance of even getting any electoral college votes. But it's very clear in the case of Jill Stein in 2016, the Russians, through their social media efforts, were very...
You know, I just realized, sorry, we're going to rewind that, but on the show a few weeks ago, I said to a lot of the Trump people, hey, congratulations, you all are communists now, according to Mark Cuban. So if you're a Trump voter, Mark Cuban on corporate media said that Trump's a communist. So by proxy, every single Trump voter is a communist. But now guess what? Apparently, since third-party voters are secret Trump supporters, we're all communists. We did it, everybody. We did it. Unification. You vote third party, you're voting for Trump. And according to Mark Cuban, if you're a Trump voter, you're voting for a communist dictator. And Trump's a communist. We all did it. You get to be a communist. And you get to be a communist. And so do you. And you in the back. That's right. That's right, Mr. American Trumper with the U.S. shirt and America's great hat on. You better get that hammer and sickle flag out. We're all in it. That's right, diehard liberals. That's right, progressives. We're all communists now. All of us. We're all in it together now. The Trump train to Stalingrad. We did it. And I'm proud of all of you. We did it. That's how you get change happening. That's what we did. We're all communists now. All on the Trump train to Stalingrad. Say it again, my corporate media friend.
Point other than to be a spoiler. They make the argument that they represent viewpoints that need to be on the ballot to give voters a choice, even though they know they have no chance whatsoever of winning or no chance of even getting any electoral college votes. But it's very clear in the case of Jill Stein in 2016, the Russians, through their social media efforts, were very much promoting her. It's very clear that both Stein and West have benefited when it comes to signature collection to get on the ballot in swing states, that Republican-connected Trump lawyers have been involved in their efforts, and Republican money looks like it's at the heart of getting West on the ballot. So these are spoiler efforts. And anybody who thinks about voting third party, whether they're voting because they don't think Harris is progressive enough, they don't like her position on Gaza, they think because of fracking she's not green enough, all they are doing is electing Donald Trump president. And anybody who knows, a neighbor, a friend, anybody who says, I don't like either candidate, I think I'm going to vote third party, let them know they are electing Donald Trump if they do that.
You do that to my front door, I'm decking you in the mouth. Anybody who does that. Excuse me. Political police, your neighbor wishes to speak for you. Excuse me. Mr. Hardlands Media, why are you supporting Trump? No, a vote for a third-party candidate is you are voting for a third-party candidate. Listen, corporate media, I love you, and especially to you, the vote blue no matter who, liberals. I love you, but you are not serious people. Okay? And that is something that I think a lot of liberals, a lot of people in corporate media need to get over. They need to get over the fact that maybe no one's buying their shite anymore. Let's look at the great Democrat coalition in 2020. It is fractured. It wasn't even barely what it was in 2016 because Bernie Sanders, that cuck, was able to build in a large viewing audience. But as RBN pointed out, and I want to pull up this tweet, actually, that's a good thing right now that I'm pulling up this tweet right now, because I think we have to really talk about the fact of Bernie and the Democrats failed. They failed at every single aspect in regards to keeping their coalition together. And so I would say, if you are a serious voter, if you want to actually, still vote, and again, I think I have to fully agree with Misty Winston Sarcasm Stardust in regard towards, hey, electoral politics. Even I feel burnt out by it, folks. But look, listen. Democrats, you lost the coalition. Bernie and AOC is having a rally, and their live stream is getting less live viewers than my stream earlier today. I remember a time when those numbers would be astronomical. Bernie used to fill stadiums and had thousands watch live. Bernie and AOC made themselves politically irrelevant. 396 people watching live. AOC, Bernie, bet on my work, all of this. I remember when they had tens of thousands of views and filled up stadiums. I remember that time. And third parties are filling in that void. Third parties and independents are actually shaking the foundation of the political system. And I think now more than ever, with all the attacks that we're seeing, because I've never seen this much media coverage on third parties before, but it's quite clear that there is a growing need from American voters to look at something else. Now, I know there's also a large portion of the population that is completely burnt out by electoral politics. And I want to pull up this other one. Thank you so much for the super chat. Cool Blue 71. I reject the Democrats after they rigged the 2016 primary. Hey, I voted third party after the Democratic primary too. I was there in Philadelphia, and I will never forget what I saw in Philadelphia. And I had the audacity to hope and thinking that maybe things would be different in 2020. I was wrong. Now, I do wish Jill Stein of the Green Party, Chase Oliver of the Libertarian Party, and yes, by some extent, yes, even Cornel West, even though I think his campaign is another joke, I do wish success for third parties and independents, be they running for president, U.S. Senate, U.S. House, you name it. I want to see third parties and independents succeed. But a lot's going to happen between now and then, and even after the election, of just how powerful third parties can get, because you better believe that the Democrats and Republicans will work together to suppress their presence. Cool Blue, you also acknowledge this here. Democrats push the anti-third party voting narrative because they assume they get to control the minds and emotions of people who deny Democrats their vote. To which I have to say, look, I've seen just a handful of times in which Republican politicians go after third parties, but the big culprit, the one people who do it all the time, every time, is the DNC establishment and Democratic politicians and, of course, corporate media pundits. But see, there's a consequence to this because they talk about the coalition, the Democratic coalition that's looking for something else. Now, I've talked about how Arab and Muslim voters and Black voters are leaving the Democratic Party, either voting third party, maybe voting for Trump, or not voting at all. But now there's also the discussing the decreases in Democratic Latino votes over the years. Democrats, you are losing your coalition because you never followed through with your promises, which is why, again, third parties are gaining such momentum too. Let's play this video.
It's not a new phenomenon. It was particularly pronounced in the 2020 elections. That's when people kind of started to focus. But Hillary Clinton lost support from where Barack Obama had been. Joe Biden lost from where Hillary Clinton was at. And we're in a position where we're looking at Kamala Harris possibly losing even further support. It's very real. It is happening. And it's part of this broader diploma divide realignment where Latinos are the fastest growing segment of the non-college workforce, non-college educated workforce. So in many ways, Latinos, where the explosion of these new voters is happening with third and fourth generation voters, are viewing themselves and voting much more like what they would determine or characterize as typical Americans.
It strikes me that a lot of folks out there would see it as counterintuitive for Latinos to support Trump, given his...
Well, wait a minute. Hold on. Because I do remember in 2016 where liberals were foaming at the mouth, shaming Latino voters who voted for Trump, when before that election night in 2016, liberals, well, white liberals in particular, were saying, to Latinos. Hey, listen. And maybe I'm taking that from the SNL skit in which Dave Chappelle was hosting. And Chris Rock was there too. Look, people, no matter what generation you're part of, Boomer, Xers, Millennial, Gen Z, the color of your skin, who you worship, each of us have to come with our own conclusion. We are not all one entity with one mindset. We're not a hive mind. We are all individuals. So if there are Black or Latino, Arab, Asian, doesn't matter the face, white voters, all of that want to vote for Trump or Kamala or third parties, then that is their constitutional right to do whatever the hell they want. Okay? I am going to do what I want. I'm going to vote third party. Does that make me a bad person? Well, according to corporate media, that means not only am I a Trump supporter, but oh my goodness, I'm a horrible, evil human being. Well, that's your perspective and opinion, man. But I will do what I feel is right for me and my values. And as far as I'm concerned, we have to look beyond electoral politics. And I like to talk to people of different perspectives and points of view. I was on Larry Sharp's show on Monday. Larry Sharp, he's a libertarian. There's a lot of things him and I agree on and disagree on. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to let politics dictate who I will talk to and who I will be friends with. And I have lost friends because I said I'm voting third party. And I have lost friends because I said, hey, Trump has a good campaign so far, keeping it together. He kept his movement together. My job here is to give my commentary and analysis. And yes, do I have a bias? I don't like the two-party system. I don't like the Democratic Party or the Republican Party. They screwed us over. And I do feel that voting third party and independence are the correct thing to do, but even then we have to look beyond that. But I am not going to lose people I love. And I am not going to make myself look like a jerk because what? Oh no, somebody has a different perspective. Listen, life is short. We only die once, but we live every single day. So enjoy every single minute of every single day. And don't let politics live rent-free in your head. And Democrats, it's your fault that you're losing your coalition. Not mine, not my audience. It's you.
His rhetoric about immigration, immigrants poisoning the blood of the country, and talking about mass deportation. What is his appeal from your perspective?
There's a lot of evidence to suggest it's not necessarily his appeal. It's sort of this economic populism of which he is the most populist candidate at the moment. We have to also recognize that the other American politician who did better than Donald Trump and defied expectations was actually Bernie Sanders on the left with a populist message as well. And in some of the same precincts, they were doing equally as strongly. So I wouldn't characterize this, frankly, as a shift to the right. We hear a lot about this racial realignment. Rather, I'd say it's the emergence of a new voter that is defying the stereotypical view of what we believe non-white or minority voters to be. It's not like people are saying, well, now maybe I'm pro-life and I was pro-choice, or maybe I'm anti-tax and I was more pro-tax. It's simply this populism that is emergent as a function of youth. 38% of our voters are under the age of 30. 20% of all Latinos will be voting for their first time in November. So this is a very young, very dynamic, very anti-establishment voter that is voting more along populist lines than ideological lines.
That's a fascinating perspective that I hadn't heard before. One thing that's clear in the data, actually two things that are clear in the data, and I'll get to one at a time. The gender gap isn't excluded the way that it is among other demographics. In other words, Latino men seem to favor Trump more than Latino women. Why is that?
It's exactly
I'm just going to say, just on a personal note, when I used to work at retail and Costco, stocking way early in the morning, I did run into a few of my coworkers who were Latino who were Trump supporters. I was rather funny. All right. Well, some great times before Harlan's media came into fruition. Okay. The Costco days of Kit Cabello. Good times. Waking up at 3:30 in the morning, not so great, but hey, it is what it is.
Well, first of all, it's a great observation. The second is it's exactly correlate to the diploma divide. Latinos have the largest diploma divide between men and women of any race or ethnic group. And both the gender gap in politics and that diploma divide are both about 7%. So our women are going to college at much faster rates than our men are. And that gap is bigger, again, than any other race or ethnicity, and it's manifesting itself at the ballot box.
It's also jumping out to me in the data that views of immigration among Latinos are vastly different than they were even 10 years ago or so. Why is that?
This is the entire premise of the book that I just came out with. The Latino voter from now going forward, the next 30 years is going to look very different than the last 30 years. And the answer is really simple. It's generationally, the explosive growth of Latino voters is happening with third and now a fourth generation voter. For the past 30 years, it was largely a naturalized immigrant themselves and their sons and daughters, where that issue was.
And they were probably hypnotized into following orders, vote for the Democratic Party. But the thing is, the Democratic Party, like any other political party, is screwing people over. And the thing is, yes, do I understand why people might be flocking to the Republican Party? Oh, absolutely. I understand why. It's very reasonable. Things have been rather going downhill, especially with Biden at the quote unquote helm of the ship. But there's also a growing interest for third parties and independents. It is up for third parties and independents to really push forward and, again, give another choice for voters. And many Americans are waking up to the fact of what's wrong with Democratic politicians and Republican politicians. But remember, Democrats, you lost your voting block. Not me, not my audience.
It's much more impactful, much more meaningful, much closer to the immigrant experience. The further along we get down that generational track, the less salience it has, one, but two, most importantly, where it does emerge, it tends to be much more about border security than immigration reform.
And notably, some of the biggest shifts we've seen among Latinos toward Republicans has been in the Rio Grande Valley on the border with
southern
Texas.
New Mexico and southern Arizona and southern California.
So, the true conclusion, the final conclusion, the final countdown. What did we learn here from this? Excuses are going to be made if Kamala loses against Donald Trump. Be prepared to be blamed and vilified, the likes of which you've never received before, because there are many liberals out there still in denial of just how bad Joe Biden was, and yes, even how bad Kamala Harris is. I mean, what's her new accent this time? And let's be clear, there's Trump's campaign. I mean, there's a lot the Democrats could have done to really counter his momentum. And there's a lot of things that Democrats could have done to really derail the Trump campaign instead of going after all these legal lawsuits. I mean, for Christ's sakes, that guy Nathan Wade was the man of the land for a while. Every single legal problem they're throwing at him. But yet, who's going to be the number one target? Third parties and independents. If you're voting for a third party candidate or independent, you are the bad guy, the real bad guy. And you have to be stopped and punished. Does this look like a rational reaction from people who are supposedly said that, yes, we're supporting the Democrats because they fight for us. No, these are irrational people who are easily triggered because they can't come to terms with the fact that the Democratic Party has failed and that the next generation and the following generation is going to be paying attention, because I'm pretty sure there's a lot of young people seeing their grandparents and parents, their friends and neighbors struggle. Now, Obama was in charge for 8 years, then there was Trump, and then there was Biden. So for the past 12 years, we're still dealing with the Democratic neoliberal policies. Does it come as a surprise maybe why people want things to be different? Things aren't good, and I don't need to tell you that. But if you're voting third party or an independent, it is your right to vote however which way you want. It is your right, and you shouldn't let people bully you. And, people shouldn't be put into a box. Maybe this should be a lesson that maybe the Democrats could learn, but I don't think they will. That when you fail your constituents, when you fail your voters, why should they give you loyalty back in return? But hey, everybody, at the end of the day, maybe communism did win. Mark Cuban called Trump a communist. That means by proxy, every single of one of the millions upon millions of Trump supporters are communists. And according to corporate media, if you vote third party, you're voting for Trump. So, folks, back from the dead. Stalin's shadow is over America. We're all communists. Every single one of us. Fermilab, what did you do? Why? They did something. I'm now firmly in that belief. Fermilab, you did something with your hydrogen collider or whatever the hell you got down there. If we have to fix the timeline, just tell us, okay? Because things are going ham right now. Trump's a communist. If you're voting third party, you're helping out Trump. Cats and dogs living together. Mass hysteria. What are your thoughts?